So today, we need to talk about the emergence of a new kind of global power. We're really moving past the old age of superpowers, the ones defined by land or military might. We're now entering an era where the very architecture of reality, well, it's up for grabs. And this is a story of that shift, the story of a technopolar hegemony, seen through the lens of one single, absolutely colossal event. Let's just start with a number. A number so big it almost feels fake. $1.25 trillion. To try and put that into perspective for a second, this single deal is the largest merger and acquisition in human history. It completely shattered a record that stood for over 25 years. We are, quite literally, off the map here. But the number itself isn't even the craziest part. The ambition behind it is what's truly staggering. Look at this quote from Elon Musk. He's not talking about this in terms of market share or shareholder value. He's framing it as a fundamental step in human evolution. It's a corporate maneuver being presented as a cosmic mission. So to really get our heads around how we got here and, more importantly, where all of this is going, here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with the deal itself, then we'll look at the incredible machine that powers it, the big ideas driving it, the global competition it's up against, and finally, what it all means for our future. All right, first up, the $1 trillion handshake. Let's really get into the anatomy of this mega merger to see exactly how this new powerhouse was put together. The financial gravity here, it's just off the charts. So what you're looking at is SpaceX, already the world's most valuable private company at a cool $1 trillion, acting as the acquirer. They are absorbing the AI powerhouse xAI, valued at $250 billion. The result? A combined entity worth $1.25 trillion, creating a private company with a valuation that rivals the GDP of entire countries. Think Australia or Spain. It's mind-boggling. And what this deal really does is it formalizes what a lot of analysts are now calling the Musconomy. And this isn't just a random collection of companies. No, it's a deeply interlinked ecosystem. The whole point is to unify the digital world of bits, that's AI, data, software, with the physical world of atoms, rockets, robots, cars, even neural interfaces. This is, for all intents and purposes, a new kind of sovereign-like power on the world stage, one that isn't a country. So how do you actually power something like this? To build an empire of bits and atoms, you need a real physical engine. And it all comes down to infrastructure. And in this case, it's about building it at a speed that, frankly, no one else can even come close to matching. And just to give you a sense of the advantage we're talking about, let's start with the industry benchmark. This comes straight from the CEO of Nvidia, Jensen Huang. He says a normal supercomputer project takes about 3 years just to plan and then another year to actually get it up and running. That's the normal pace. 4 years, okay? Remember that number. And this is where it just gets wild. xAI built its supercomputer, which they call Colossus, in just 122 days. Not 4 years, 4 months. And how did they do it? Well, they treated the data center like a product you assemble, not a building you construct. They picked a site fast, shipped entire server racks that were already built and configured from San Jose, and then just did a plug-and-play installation. The result? They went from the first rack being installed to running their first AI training model in just 19 days. That is 6 to 8 times faster than the competition. And that incredible speed, you guessed it, translates directly into just overwhelming power. This chart really puts it into perspective. Just look at Colossus next to its rivals from Microsoft and Meta. With over 200,000 of Nvidia's top-of-the-line GPUs, it has more than 10 times the hardware. This gives it an estimated 800 exaflops of AI compute power. That's 800 times quintillion calculations per second. It's an astronomical figure that makes this the most powerful AI training cluster known to exist in the world. And all that raw power, it's not just for showing off in a chart. It lets them pursue completely different strategies. Take Grok's deep search mode, for example. When you ask it a really complex question, the system can actually dynamically throw a huge chunk of extra GPU power at your query just for you. It's like having an entire team of researchers instantly assemble just to find your answer. This allows for way deeper, more complex reasoning. And for their competitors, who are running on much thinner hardware margins, this kind of on-demand, super intensive compute, it's just way too expensive to offer at scale. It's an algorithmic strategy that uses brute force as an unbreachable competitive moat. Okay, so we have this incredible engine of speed and power. You have to ask, what's it all for? And that brings us to the ideology, the big idea that's driving this entire machine, the techno-utopian vision. The promise, and you've heard this from Silicon Valley, it's seductive, isn't it? AI is going to solve everything. It'll cure diseases, fix the climate, unlock fusion energy, and bring about this world of post-scarcity abundance. The core belief is really simple. Any problem we have can be solved with just more technology. The mission is more everything, forever. I mean, what's not to like, right? Well, as it turns out, for every single one of those promises, there's a pretty significant peril lurking in the shadows. Yes, AI is solving problems we thought were impossible. DeepMind's AlphaFold totally changed biology. But for every breakthrough like that, there's the very real threat of hollowing out entire professional classes. And sure, AI improves safety with things like earthquake alerts, but it also threatens to erode our own human agency. The real danger here is a future where machines think for us, not with us. A world where our judgment is outsourced to algorithms. And look, this isn't some far-off science fiction problem. A pretty stark forecast from JP Morgan estimates that 50% of all entry-level white-collar jobs could be automated away in just 5 years. The Industrial Revolution took centuries to unfold. This is happening in a blink of an eye. And there's no clear plan for what all those displaced workers are supposed to do next. Now, this whole techno-utopian vision, it's not happening in a bubble. It has a direct geopolitical competitor, and that's leading to what some analysts are calling a great divergence in how technology and power are going to be used on a global scale. And here's the core of that divergence. On one side, you have the Musconomy. It's private, it's vertically integrated, and it's obsessed with speed. On the other side, you have China's AI mandate, state-driven, centrally planned, and totally focused on stability and control. One side's greatest weapon is speed. The other's is absolute state control and unparalleled access to data. This is the new global competition. This is the technopolar order. The first battleground is, of course, silicon. Now, there's a huge debate going on about whether US export controls on advanced chips are actually working. Some people argue they'll just push China to innovate faster and catch up. But what this data suggests is that the exact opposite is happening. Far from closing the gap, these controls seem to be widening it. The projection is that Nvidia's performance advantage over its main Chinese rival Huawei will grow from 5 times better to a staggering 17 times better by 2027. So it looks like the controls are having their intended effect. The second battleground? People. Human talent. This has become an all-out war for the handful of elite engineers who can actually build these things. It's being called AI draft season. You're seeing lawsuits like xAI suing OpenAI for poaching, and systematic raids with Meta and Microsoft just hiring away entire teams from their rivals. I mean, when top researchers are being offered compensation packages worth up to $1.5 billion, you know that human talent is the scarcest and most valuable resource in this whole game. But this all leads to a really fascinating and, frankly, critical contradiction. While the Musconomy is being positioned as a key asset in the US-China tech rivalry, one of its most important pieces, Tesla, is pushing hard to use data collected in China to train its full self-driving AI. This creates a deep inconsistency, right? How can this ecosystem be a shield against China's model while at the same time depending on Chinese data and their government's approval for one of its biggest projects? And that question forces us to zoom all the way back out to the big picture, to a future where power isn't just defined by the borders of nation-states anymore. So, here's the bottom line. We are stepping into a completely new era of governance. Our future is being written by the clash of these two technopolar forces. On one side, you have a private empire built on absolute speed, and on the other, a state machine built on absolute control. And you have to remember, one of those visions has no earthly limits at all. The stated goal, in Musk's own words, is to build a sentient sun, an intelligence so vast it can understand the universe itself. This isn't a business plan for market dominance. It's a plan to bypass the planet entirely. So this leaves us not with an answer, but with this central question of our time. As private companies and authoritarian states race to build the infrastructure that will literally define our world, who do we trust to govern the very code of reality? Who gets to write the next chapter of our story?